It all depends on your build style, really. With mine, since the Docker Prime has a 15% starting crit chance and a 1.5 times crit multiplier, honestly, it doesn't seem worth it to me to go for a critical build on it. So I would just do a total damage build on it. That being the case, I would use mods like Pressure Point and Spoiled Strike, and let's see, Fury to counteract some of what Spoiled Strike does. And I wouldn't be using Berserker on an only 15% weapon, because yes, it's not that much less than a 20% weapon would be doing, but still, it's that edge that can make or break a battle, you know? Alright. Like I said, I would go for a straight damage build with Pressure Point and Fury and Spoiled Strike. And, like, go with elemental damage to boost it like I do with most of my melee weapons. And like I said, I wouldn't use Life Strike on my weapon because I don't use channeling that often. I have enough specialty weapons as it is that refill my health every now and then whenever they proc, so I honestly don't see the point. Yeah, it would just take up an extra Warframe slot that I could use for, I mean, not Warframe, weapon slot that I could use for something else. And with a straight damage build like that, it wouldn't compare to the build that I have planned for my Prismaskana. I haven't got it all the way through yet because it's going to take a couple of formats to boost it all the way to where I want it. But I've calculated it out, and averaging out the criticals and the damage multiplication that Crimson Dervish will add to it based on which combo you use. I calculated it out that the Docker Prime would use about 3,100 damage per second, and the Prismaskana would use about 4,300 per second. Now, I know a lot of people will probably discount DPS in this game because it is very variable depending on which enemy type you're going against, how much armor they have, etc., etc. But with such a large gap between the two, I think it makes all the difference in the world, and that's not even counting the effects of what Berserker will do whenever it maxes all the way to the plus 75% attack speed. And on top of that, it doesn't include what Bright Purity does every time it procs. Because every time Bright Purity procs, it radiates out corrosive damage. And with that in mind, they'll be a lot more vulnerable to the slash damage that you're pumping out. And that's what a lot of people discount whenever they say that the Prismaskana is lesser, is they don't take into account that Bright Purity will, on its own, lower the amount of armor an enemy has every time it procs on them. Now, I do admit that it is close, and DPS can be discounted, but with such a large gap between the two, and granted this is just my playstyle. Ah, crap. See, I knew that was going to happen. Where's the wave number? At least it seems to be running smoother, thank God. There we go, wave 16, okay. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to get your hands on it yet, but Exalted Blade is freaking amazing. So nice to see the poster child of Warframe and Digital Extremes get the attention again that he deserves, and to be the badass again that he deserves to be. Back whenever I first got back into Warframe a year ago, even then the new Warframes like Hydroid and Zephyr had outshined him because their abilities were so much more outlandish and useful overall. Now that he's been revisited and revitalized, he is the badass swordsman that he should be. The only problem is that I can't rank up my melee weapons for shit because I can't not use Exalted Blade. Call me a noob if you want to, but it is so much fun to play with. That sounds like some sort of innuendo. I'd probably be making a joke about now that I shouldn't be playing with my sword like that, but hey. Come on, Berserker, where are you at? There we go. I don't know if you guys have paid really close attention, but not only Exalted Blade, but Slash Dash actually takes into account the mods that your melee weapons have equipped. It doesn't take into account the damage that your melee weapons have equipped, so you could probably equip a lower tier weapon, whichever weapon you thought was most fun. It would only take into account the mods that you have equipped and use them to boost the base strength of the attacks themselves. Like, I think at max, Exalted Blade does like 250 damage per swipe, something like that, all balanced between slash, puncture, and impact, and the actual energy wave is like 70% geared towards slash, 20% geared toward puncture, and 10% to impact. Don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't read the article in a while, but anyway. And each slash has a 15% chance on critical. So the fact that I'm using my Prismaskana, focusing on slash damage, upping the attack power so much, having Berserker means that all these different mods and special abilities that I put into the Prismaskana are translated over to Slash Dash and Exalted Blade. Take, for example, I'm building for viral damage, so the viral damage will be transferred over into each swipe. Even Bright Purity from the Prismaskana is transferred over. Even though Exalted Blade is technically not a Skana weapon, it still counts the mod equipped to his melee weapon, and so the effects of Bright Purity are taken into account. You get that plus 100% attack power. You get that effect of Purity, where every time you build up enough experience, you get that explosion of corrosive damage. It just basically shows off more and more of Excalibur's strengths. It makes them more obvious. He's not such a starter Warframe anymore. He actually has an impact now. Like, back in the day, I can't tell you how fast I got rid of Excalibur. After I ranked him up to 30 and got Ember in my inventory, and granted, this is Ember back before they nerfed the hell out of her. Yes, Ember has gotten better than she had been for a while with the boost to her attacks and the change to her Ring of Fire move. I think it was actually called Ring of Fire to start with, but they changed it to Fire Blast because although the ring is left behind, it also does that huge fire blast out that'll knock enemies back or at least proc fire damage on them. Anyway, Whew. And then I went to get Frost, and Excalibur was the first one to go because he was just not worth my time. I hate to say that, but he just was not interesting enough to me compared to other Warframes. And then, lo and behold, a year later, Excalibur comes back with a brand new weapon, and he is arguably one of the best Warframes all over again. I might even go so far as to say that he has become my favorite Warframe because of how much work they put into changing his abilities, changing his stats, just turning him into the badass that he was supposed to be. Now, I don't discount other Warframes like Chroma or Zephyr. Those are some of my other favorite Warframes, but I'm just glad to see the poster child regain the hype that he was supposed to have. And holy cow! I mean, granted, that was only an elite Lancer, but damn. Die, Bombard, die! Ow, no. I refuse. Uh-oh. I hear Arsonist behind me. Let's see, 2 dead Bombards. I wish one of these deadgun Bombards would drop another copy of Crimson Dervish. Jeez. If nothing else, it would be nice to have that extra copy to get a little extra platinum. I need that little extra padding to maybe get another Warframe slot for whenever 17 comes out and I get my hands on Equinox. That Warframe was going to be something like Limbo, I think. It's either going to be really good or it's going to suck. And the initial look at the abilities, it looks to be really awesome, but I won't know for sure until I get my hands on it. I can't say him or her because it's both. It's the first transvestite. It's the first transsexual Warframe out there. He can change sexes at will.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
Bombard. Die, you bastard. Ow, what hit me? Yoink. Another Bombard. Drop Crimson Dervish, why don't you? Damn. Exalted Blade is just insane whenever you get Berserker all the way up to 75% added speed. I mean, look at this.
Watch yourself. Rainier are on the way.
It's pretty insane, isn't it? What the? Stuck much? Another thing I'm looking for in 17 to come is, well, actually I can't remember if they confirmed that's going to be in 17 or if they're still undecided, but Valkyr's pre-Corpus skin is going to be coming out in 17 at some point, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'll probably have to rewatch the dev stream to be sure whether or not they actually confirmed her for 17. That'll actually be interesting to see. It pulls in a lot more of her feline attributes into her form. Like, I've seen the concept sketches from the dev streams, and I actually watched the one where they sculpted the helmet live. And I want to know what kind of sculpting program they use, if it's an in-house thing or if it's some sort of software they got from a third party, because that software was amazing. I mean, you just start with geometric shapes with, I don't know, maybe 16 wires in the frame total, and they just sculpted out a basic shape and then hit a button and it added more frames and more definition, and they just kept going down a level, going down a level, adding more detail. It was so seamless and so interesting to see the concept process. I mean, he was literally going by the concept sketch they had there of Free Corpus Valkyr, and it was just like a seamless transition from paper to 3D model. And I realize it's only aesthetically pleasing, kind of like the proto armor that I'm wearing now. But after looking at the same old Warframes forever, it's kind of nice to have something new to look at. I mean, look at that. You cannot tell me that is not badass looking.